Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This is our housing live stream on packing tips and decorating and all that good stuff. So my name is Hayden Lau. I am the marketing coordinator for the Department of Housing and Residence Life here at UCF. We have some special guests with us this afternoon, so I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Jenkins. I'm the Assistant Director for Residence Life here at UCF. I supervise the Towers at Nights Plaza, and I work with residential conduct in student care.
Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm a housing ambassador. I'm a biomedical sciences major going into my third year. I'm from Pembroke Pines, Florida, originally the UK. And on campus, I've lived at Neptune and Towers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony De Abreu. I am the graduate coordinator for conference services. I am originally from Venezuela. My major, I'm pursuing 2 masters, one in public administration and one in criminal justice. And I currently live in the Libra community.
All right, thank you all. We're excited to have you all here, and thank you for being with us. So before we get started into our packing list, what to bring, what to leave at home, we do just want to go over move-in and room selection real quick. I know we have a lot of questions on that, so we definitely want to address that. So to get started, we have a couple quick updates on those topics before we move on to packing information and our Q&A. We are planning for a phased move-in spanning over 2 weeks, August 8th through the 23rd, to facilitate appropriate physical distancing and other health and well-being measures. This means there will be no early move-in. Students who have campus activities like band or athletics or specific travel arrangements should choose the appointment time that works best for them. So, selection of move-in appointments will start in the next week, so students should keep a close eye on their email for more information. It is very important that students choose a date and time that they can attend. Staffing, testing, key packets, and more will be arranged based on the date and time that you select. Some students have asked about moving in early and then returning home until classes start. Following testing, students should plan to reside on campus and are required to stay away from group activities or crowded locations. Students should bring and wear facial coverings at all times in the presence of others and maintain 6 feet of physical distance in all situations where possible. As much as possible, get food on a to-go basis, so not eating in restaurants, dining halls, or other common eating areas. It's a good idea to pack devices to stay occupied and connected digitally during this time. More information on move-in will be updated to our website and sent directly to students via email next week. And for room selection, it is currently underway. Students in roommate groups are encouraged to verify your roommate group before starting selection. This will tell you if any members of your group may have canceled their housing. Read all of the instructions. Each page includes important information on how to make your selections and how to proceed. Room selection times are based on when you applied for housing. Although everyone has their preferences of room types, no one should expect a guarantee of private bedrooms in the academic year housing. You should start your appointment with several backup preferences to be most successful when selecting your room. We know you are excited to get started at UCF, and we're excited to welcome you this fall. So let's get into today's main topic, what to bring and what not to bring. So Brianna is going to get started on the packing list for us. We have included a link to our packing list on our website so that you can follow along as Brianna is going over the packing list. So Brianna, take it away for us.
Hey, everyone. So I know one of the most fun things to do as you're thinking about coming to college and moving on campus is to determine what it is that you need to bring. But obviously, in the time of COVID-19, that obviously can yield a lot of different questions. And so I want to talk a little bit about the packing list, which is found on the housing website, which gives you all of the things that you want to bring with you, as well as things that you want to leave at home. So we'll start with the items that you want to bring with you, and we'll start with move-in day. So our move-in day is going to look a little differently. It will include, obviously, testing and moving into your room. For bringing with you on move-in day, you'll want to bring with you a dolly or a hand truck. Obviously, since we are in the time of COVID-19, we may have limited equipment available in your community office. And so it may be more convenient for you to bring with you your own dolly or a hand truck. You'll want to make sure you bring bottled water. It is August in Florida, so obviously that's going to mean that it can get a little warm. So make sure that you are staying hydrated and bringing with you water, as well as an umbrella to protect you from the shade or from the sun. For your room, you want to make sure you start with your bedding. You'll start with your sheets. If you're living on campus in some of our academic communities or main campus communities, your bed is going to be an extra long twin. So you'll want to make sure that you bring with you those correct sheets. If you're living in Towers or Northview, it's a full size and a queen size for Northview residents. You'll want to make sure you bring pillowcases and pillows, a blanket and comforter, your mattress pad, and that should be it for all of your bedding. You want to make sure you bring all your toiletries, your towels, your washcloths, your toilet paper, your paper towels. And in addition, you may also want to consider bringing your own wipes and cleaning supplies. For you, you'll want to bring your alarm clock. I know most of us keep our alarms on our phone, but if you are traditional and you want to bring that, that might be something that you might find to be helpful. You'll want to bring your own trash can. Make sure you bring liners for your trash can so that you can continuously take out your trash and work with your suite mates or apartment mates if you have them to take out the trash as well. If you choose to bring a power strip, we do have requirements for that. So that's going to include your 120 volt UL approved circuit breaker, and the maximum that it can be is 6 feet with 6 outlets at the end of each cord. We do follow strict fire safety guidelines, so you want to make sure that everything you purchase for your room falls in line with those requirements. You'll want to make sure that you bring a laundry bag and supplies. We use high efficiency detergent. That's mostly what's around these days, so just make sure you check your labels. If you choose to bring a microwave, that is for some communities where they have access to a kitchen. You'll want to make sure that you check your individual community pages to make sure that you can bring that in your space. If you want to bring a refrigerator, that's the typical mini fridge size. So it can't be more than 5 cubic feet. And you'll want to make sure you talk through with your apartment mates, or if you're living in singles, what you need to bring based on who you're living with. And then if you live in Towers or Northview, you will need to bring your own shower curtain. So it's strongly suggested that you look at that. For internet, you want to make sure that you bring your Ethernet cable so that you can connect to the UCF Wi-Fi network and or set up all of your devices for connection to wireless. And then you'll want to bring your TV. If you have a smart TV, then you can use that Ethernet cable as well to connect. If you have an apartment, you want to bring all of the traditional cooking items. I know for most of us, cooking is not something we're really thinking about, but especially because we're wanting to encourage a little more isolation when you come to campus, you want to make sure that you've got all your pots and pans, your cooking utensils, all of your eating utensils, and your dishes. If you live in an apartment, you are able to bring a toaster oven or a toaster. If you live on main campus, you're not able to bring that toaster oven. Now let's talk about what not to bring. Items you want to leave at home. Pets. So you might have a pet that you have grown up with and that you live with currently. Unless that pet is a fish in a 10-gallon or smaller tank, you will not be able to bring it to campus unless it is an approved emotional support animal or a service animal. We could talk a little bit more about that later when we get to talking about other items. String lights. String lights are fun. They're festive. You want to bring them to decorate your community and your space. However, we do not allow them for fire safety reasons. Bed lofts or risers. You are unable to bring anything that rises your bed. I know that makes it comfortable, that makes it feel larger than it is. It often helps with bedding as well, but for fire safety reasons, we don't allow that. Water beds. We don't allow water beds because they can leak. We also no longer allow octopus, torture lamps, light bulbs, or lamps that utilize halogen. And that's because for fire safety reasons as well, if something gets on that lamp, it could catch on fire. Wall decorations, you are not allowed to cover more than 20% of each individual wall, and that again is for fire safety reasons. You are not allowed to use curtains or any type of partition inside of your room. That is, again, because that is a fire safety violation. Any firearms, explosive, or any sharp weaponry, BB guns, toy guns, anything like that. Again, those are weapons, and we do not allow those on inside of the residence halls on campus. Illegal drugs, obviously not allowed. Broiler ovens, rice cookers, crock pots, anything with an open element is not allowed. Obviously, if you have a kitchen, you want to bring those items, but those are not allowed because of the heating element on them. Any open flame devices, grills, portable stoves, fondue pots, gas burner, hot plates, anything like that is not allowed. And this most specifically includes candles. You are not allowed to bring candles on campus. It has that wick. It requires a flame. It's not allowed in our residence halls. Air fryers. You can bring an air fryer if you have a kitchen. However, you have to be aware that it can set off the fire alarm, and that's really because of that condensation. If you use an air fryer, that mist can set off the particulate detector and potentially cause the alarm to go off, and that can be a pretty expensive fee if it does go off. Bikes. You are allowed to bring bikes on campus. However, you may not store them inside of your residence hall. You must store it outside of your residence hall on the bike rack. And we do find that most of the students do not end up using it throughout the year. So I would say wait till you get on campus, decide if a bike is something that you would like to use, and then make that decision when you get here, because we do find a lot of bikes end up hanging out at the bike rack for the entire year. Really make that decision with you and your friends or your family once you get to campus and you decide if that's something that you would like to use. So yeah, so that is it for the packing list. And so I think we're gonna go into next a little bit more about some of those rules and regulations that I talked about, right, Hayden? So I want to talk a little bit more on that same page about the Community Living Guide. So the Community Living Guide really is the document that governs all of the rules and expectations we have for you as residents on campus. It's important that you read it. And the reason why it's important that you read it is because you're held accountable to it, whether you've read it or not. And so that's something that you want to make sure that you read through thoroughly. On the Community Living Guide page, it starts by talking through all of the table of contents and a welcome from our executive director, Dr. April Hicks Convalinka. As you read through the table of contents, it has some tips about getting started. It has some tips about talking to your roommate. It talks about some of the packing list items that I just talked about recently. It talks about staff. Who can you go to for help and who lives in your community that can assist you? If you're in a living learning community, it talks about those. It also talks about how to get involved. We'll be doing a lot more virtual engagements, obviously to encourage social distancing as well as to not gather in large groups. We want to be sure that you know how to get connected and you know where to find people to connect with and build community with. It talks about some of the community and standards and expectations that I just went over. So all of the regulations are there. It can range from alcohol all the way to windows and screens, how you can use your room, what you're expected to do with your keys, things like that. We do have a residential conduct process on campus, and so that is how we'll hold you accountable if you happen to make a mistake in terms of these violations. Your coordinator for residence life really helps with making sure that the Community Living Guide is enforced. So if you haven't read it, we definitely encourage you to take some time to read through it and to get all of the rules and policies that you may need while you live on campus.
Thank you so much, Brianna, for going over that. And we did add the link to the Community Living Guide if you want to go ahead and look over it. It should be in the comments, so you can read that when you have a chance. So we have quite a bit of pre-submitted questions. So thank you to everyone who submitted questions on our Instagram page. So we're going to go ahead and address some of those with our panelists now. So our first question that we have is from Sam. And Sam is asking, how tall can the beds be raised?
All right. Well, depending on what community you are, all communities, with the exception of Towers and Northview, the bed frames allow you to raise them to about 30 inches, and that's going to be below the mattress. And that space is actually really useful for you to use it as storage or just to put your items below the mattress.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony. So we have another question from a different Sam, and they are asking, is there a way to see or get pictures of move-in ready rooms of the different residence halls?
Hi, so Sam, we have a few places you can see pictures of rooms. You can check out our housing website, but you can also check out our Facebook page. And on the Facebook, we have a photo album for our room design contest. So in that, you can see pictures that people submitted of their actual rooms.
Yep, and that's a great resource, a great way to get some ideas on how to decorate and what you can do with the space. And we will be adding a link to that photo album as well into the comments. So we have someone asking if they can bring a coffee maker.
Yeah. So yes, you can bring a coffee maker as long as it doesn't have any kind of open heating element, and obviously it doesn't make any kind of flame. So yes, as long as it doesn't have those elements, you can bring them to campus.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony. Brianna, Maddie is asking, when we move in early, do we stay on campus or do we go back home?
Yes. So move-in this year, it's earlier than our typical move-in. So there's really no early move-in. So what we want residents to do is to stay on campus.
Thank you. So we've had a lot of followers ask, what can we bring as a general question? What items are not allowed? Where can we find a list of that? So Brianna went over that in great detail. And again, you can find the link to our packing list, and it spells it out for you, what you can bring, what you can't bring. So that's on our website under move-in info. So we would definitely recommend reading over that again, just so you are not bringing the wrong thing and you don't forget anything as well. So we had someone ask, how big are the rooms at Union West? And just in case anyone doesn't know, Union West is our housing at our downtown campus.
All right. So the exact size of the room at Union West varies because there are different types of rooms and different styles. So I encourage you to go to our Facebook page and you're going to find all different pictures and all the sizes for the rooms.
Thank you, Anthony. So someone asked, what extras should you pack with COVID?
Yes. So I would definitely suggest that you bring your own personal protective equipment. I would suggest that you bring your own personal cleaning supplies, such as your wipes, face coverings, your hand sanitizer, and your cleaning products, just so you have everything that you need to personally be protected while you're away and here on campus.
Thank you. So we were asked, is a plug-in air purifier allowed? And kind of on this topic, can we go over different like scented plugins and what's allowed on that whole topic?
Yes, absolutely. So a plug-in air purifier, I believe what might be asked is definitely the plugins, like the Glade plugins or anything that you put that kind of emits a spray. Those are not allowed on campus. And so if you are bringing anything that is not that, it has to be Underwriters Laboratories listed. So it should have that sticker that says UL on it. And that can include a variety of electrical devices, but they cannot be the plugins that emit either a scent or an oil or anything of that regard. What we do allow on campus is a wax melt or a wax warmer. So if you have the wax melts that have that warming plate, and as long as that warming plate is covered and doesn't have an open flame, that is something that we do allow on campus.
Perfect, thank you. So if each of you could kind of comment on this next question, I think it's a great question. Someone asked, what is something that people forget to pack?
Hi, this is Isabel. So sometimes with all the sun in Florida, we forget about the rain. It almost always rains around move-in, as I'm sure anyone who moved in can tell you. So don't forget, if you've got stuff that you're going to be moving in that could be damaged by rain, you might want to bring some umbrellas or something to cover your trolley with.
And currently with this times of COVID-19, I would encourage you to bring also your PPE, any personal equipment, any facial coverings. We will be providing some of those here on campus. However, we encourage you to have some extra in case you need more. Also, any kind of medications that you may need. And one big one that I think we all should have it is trash bags and any kind of like item to collect your trash, so you can work with your roommates, suite mates, so you can have that item in your room. And one that I personally encountered multiple times last year that people ask me questions about is about the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet and how it works on campus. So if you have a smart TV, an Xbox, any kind of gaming console, I highly encourage you to bring an Ethernet cord, because we have an enterprise connection here on campus, which do not allow those devices to connect. So you need to have a wired connection, which it goes to every room, comes with one, and you plug it into the wall, and then you'll be able to enjoy either your gaming console or a smart TV.
All right, thank you. And I know we might be using, our gaming consoles more often if we'll be in our rooms, and definitely those smart TVs. So that's a great tip there. So we've had a few questions on how to request maintenance. Should you need any maintenance requests done? Isabel, do you mind going over how to submit a maintenance request?
Sure. So as a student and a housing employee, I've submitted a lot of maintenance requests in my years at UCF. And I can tell you it is very, very easy to submit a work order. All you do is Google UCF work order. And on the first thing that comes up, go to facilities page. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a little yellow button. And it's going to say submit an online request or submit a work order. And just click that, fill out the form. It's really short. It just asks where you are, what you need fixing. And then maintenance will give you a call, or they'll show up. And they're always, in my experience, really fast, efficient, professional, and helpful. I've had only positive experiences with maintenance requests. So they'll cover a variety of things, actually. So check out their website, and you'll see that they can help you out with a lot of stuff. And in my experience, they're really fast and helpful.
Thank you, Isabel. So our next question, do students and parents only have 2 hours to move in?
Yes, so 2 hours is the anticipated window for checking in. That will include your testing, receiving your keys, as well as instructions for how to get to your community office. You're going to receive more details on that, including your specific arrival time, unloading information, and where to park when it's available and you sign up for your move out appointment and receive further move-in information.
Perfect. Thank you, Brianna. So next question, are LED string lights, even if they don't heat up, are those permitted in the residence halls?
So that would be a no. And I know from experience, I've been written up for those and had to take it down and fix it. So my advice is don't put them up. Don't put up the LED lights. They're not allowed. But what I would recommend instead actually is what I put up. If you want to make your room look a little more homey, you can try some artificial flower vines, or maybe a non-halogen desk lamp. Because again, we don't allow halogen bulbs on lamps either.
Good recommendations there. Thank you, Isabel. So someone asked if they can see more pictures or an inventory list of the Nike Hercules kitchen. Is there a full stove and oven in the kitchen, or is it just a stove top?
All right. So yeah, both the Nike and Hercules communities do have a full kitchen. So they're going to have an oven, a stovetop, a sink, a microwave. All the residents of those communities are open to use them. However, you should plan on bringing your own cookware, dishes, and any kind of utensils that you need to to cook.
Thanks, Anthony. And to clarify, those are the community kitchens found in each different community. They have that community kitchen feature. So can you tell us a list of everything that is already included in the rooms at the Towers?
Sure. So Towers includes a full-size bed, a desk and a chair, a dresser, and a closet.
Thanks, Isabel. And what about in the common spaces in Towers? What is included in that? What can you kind of expect for that?
Sure. So that has a sofa. The sofa would probably seat about 2 or 3 people, 2 chairs, a coffee table, and another little small table. I put my microwave on that other small table. So again, that's 2 tables, 2 chairs, and a sofa.
Thank you. And I know we do like to point out that the Towers kitchens in your apartment do not have a microwave. So that'd be an important thing to remember. So Jada asked, do we need to bring a bedside table or a table to put our TV on?
So I think that depends. I would largely encourage you to look at the size of your room. As you come to move in onto campus, you can look that up on the housing website, as well as to see what furniture is included, and then make a decision when you get here based on the floor plan, what is there. We encourage you to look at what's already included in your room and use that because most TVs will fit on the dressers that are there.
Thank you. So a follower asked, will equipment like a dolly or a cart be available to check out to move into the dorms this year? We live overseas, so bringing something would be a challenge.
Right, so yes, we will have some of that equipment available. However, we highly encourage you to bring your own, kind of like avoiding touching items that other people touch, but we're gonna have a very limited amount of those available. And one tip for moving is I recommend packing everything in boxes prior to coming to campus, because that's going to make your moving experience much better.
Good to know. Thank you, Anthony. So someone asked, I see a lot of pictures with mini fridges in the Towers rooms. Should I bring one?
Well, I think it depends. A lot of residents enjoy having access to their own items in a mini fridge in their room. And so what you may find is that if you have the space in your room after you bring all of your things, you might find that that's something that you choose to take advantage of. You do have your own refrigerator, shared refrigerator in the kitchen in your apartment in Towers. So that might be something that you might want to keep with you if you decide to get a mini fridge, to kind of have your own personal stash of milk or things like that if you want to keep in your room.
Thank you, Brianna. So Danny asked, are students required to stay on campus until the COVID tests are, until they get the COVID tests back?
So students are encouraged to remain as isolated as possible. And so we understand that there might be some time where you need to do minimal trips for necessities, but you should absolutely minimize your interaction with others, crowded locations, group activities, or anything that would go against that isolation as much as possible. While you're outside of your room, you should, of course, continue to wear your face covering and always practice 6 feet of physical distance. And we found that students being isolated on campus until they receive those test results might be beneficial.
Thanks, Brianna.
Mm-hmm.
So a follower asked, do we need to buy hangers for our clothes, or are they going to be supplied?
So yes, you do need to bring hangers. And just a fun extra tip, if you want some extra hanging space, if you get a second tension rod, like a shower curtain rod, and put it in below the first rod in your closet, you can get double the hanging space. So that might be useful for some people.
That's a really nice tip. Thank you, Isabel. So Diana asked, what is Northview's bed size, and will I need to bring a shower curtain?
So the Northview bed size are going to be Queen XL, and the best one of the sheets that kind of fit in a very good way is the Deep Queen. So if you get those, are going to fit very well. And yes, you should bring your own shower curtain for Northview.
Thank you. So Laura asked, how far is the walk from parking to Academic Village? And just in case you aren't familiar with what Academic Village is considered, it would be Nike, Hercules, and Neptune communities.
So that really depends on which building you're in. So the best thing you can do is first check out our website, because on our website, we're going to tell you where you should park for move-in on the housing website. And so after you find out what parking lot you're supposed to park in, then you can just put it into Google Maps and see how far that is from your building. But to do this, you're going to need to know the building, and you're also going to need to know what parking lot, and you can find that in the move-in section on the housing website.
Thank you, Isabel. Denise asked, do all kitchens in the towers have a stove?
Yeah, they do. But just keep in mind that towers kitchens, they've got a stove, an oven, a fridge, a sink, but they do not have a microwave. So if you're at towers, you might still want your own microwave.
Perfect. Thank you, Isabel. So Ariana asks, do all rooms come with chairs, or do we have to bring our own?
Yes, so all residents will be provided in the room with a desk and a chair. However, you're more than welcome to bring your own chair pads or any other chairs that you would like for your comfort or decoration.
Perfect, thank you. So those, that sums up our pre-submitted questions that we have from our Instagram page. So we'll go ahead and start answering some of your live questions. So I'll go ahead and feature those questions here. So we are asked, are wall hangings like tapestries allowed in dorms? Brianna, do you want to go over like tapestries and how much of the wall can be covered? I know we talked about it a little bit already.
Yeah, sure. So wall tapestries are not allowed inside of the residence halls. No more than 20% of your wall can be covered inside of your room. Now, that does exclude if you have an open closet, like in towers or other places, you can have a curtain rod that goes over that closet.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let me pull up another question here from Jill about toaster ovens and toasters allowed in Neptune. It says only in apartment style. Can you use it in the community kitchen and store it in your room when you're not using it?
Hi, Jill. So I've lived in Neptune, and I can tell you that just like what we said about those heating devices, you can use them in the kitchen. And of course, if you're using it in the kitchen, you will want to store it in your room. But just be careful where you're storing it, because if on a room inspection they come in and it looks like you're using it in your room, you might have a problem. So just only use it in the kitchen and be careful where you're storing it.
Thank you. Another question about Neptune. So to clarify, I know we talked about wireless cable or Wi-Fi and bringing an Ethernet cable. So we just encourage that you do bring that Ethernet cable in case you do want to have the hardwired internet connection. So just some clarification on that. I don't know if any of you want to add anything else on that topic of Wi-Fi and cables.
Yep. So as I was saying, we do have Wi-Fi here on campus. However, if you're bringing like those devices like a gaming console or a smart TV, you do need an Ethernet cable because they do not connect to our enterprise connection. So you would need a wired connection. Also, if you want to have like in your computer a faster speed, if you do a wired connection, it's going to be a little bit faster.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification on that. So Adriana is asking if she can use a Foreman grill in an apartment style room. So we've got some chefs coming into the fall, coming with us this fall.
So you cannot use a Foreman grill in the apartment style. And really that's because of that heating element, it's exposed. And so if something were to fall on it, it creates a fire safety hazard. So we do not allow them in the residence halls.
Thank you. So a question here from Beth, will my husband and I be able to help my daughter move in? I know that visitors aren't going to be allowed in the dorms.
Yes. So we ask that you bring no more than 2 people to help you move in. And so that would include your husband and yourself to help your student move in with them. Visitors, your correct visitors will not be allowed in the residence halls after the move-in process.
Thank you. So Kelly has a question about a curtain to cover the closet. I think we touched on this, but just to clarify again.
Yes. So to clarify, you can have a curtain that covers the closet if there is not a closet door there.
Perfect. Thank you. And Kelly, I know you have another question here about the beds being raised. So that's something that can be requested. You just can't bring those bed risers to raise it up yourself. So let me just go through our questions real quick and grab one for us. So here's a question about vacuuming in the towers. Are there vacuum cleaners available for students to use, or should they bring their own?
You can sometimes rent a vacuum, but as a student, I would always recommend bringing your own vacuum because it's just going to encourage you to vacuum more and be cleaner. And now you can get really small and lightweight vacuums.
Very true. Thank you, Isabel. And a question here from Michelle, are essential oil diffusers allowed? This is a good question.
So I think I have so I would say there are 2 essential oil diffusers that I know about. So the first are the ones that have the reeds and the oil comes through and then it diffuses there. Those are allowed. The diffusers that emit the spray into the air, those are allowed. However, I would strongly suggest that you look at what your particulate detector looks like in your residence hall room. So as your student moves onto campus or as you move onto campus, really make sure that you're thinking about where it's placed so that you're not able to spray underneath your smoke detector, your particle detector, and substantially cause your fire alarm to go off.
Perfect. Thank you, Brianna.
Mm-hmm.
Question here from Irene. Can you put a water purifier on the kitchen sink faucet in the towers?
I'm gonna actually ask Hayden. We have a water purifier thing on the office at housing.
We do.
Is it the same one?
I think yes. They're referring to the same contraption.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got one in the office, so it must work in the dorms, right?
So yes, so there is not a current policy that prevents you from putting water purifiers on the water faucets in the apartments in towers. However, I would suggest that you do some research on how to do that before you attach it. We have seen students break their faucets because they put on the water purifier maybe a little too tight, or when they went to take it off, it became an issue, but those are allowed. We just ask that you research before you try to put it on.
Good advice. Definitely don't want to break your faucet. I know something I used in college was the Brita water filter. Fill it up in the sink, put it in the fridge. So that way you don't have to worry about, possibly messing up the faucet. So we are being asked, what are the move-in dates? So can one of you just adjust again what our move-in period of time, what that window of time is going to be?
So those dates are going to be August 8th through August 23rd.
Perfect. Thank you, Brianna. All right. And someone else was asking, are these the move-in dates the same for the Rosen community, the Rosen apartments? So I believe they do have the same move-in. Yeah.
They're the same dates for the Rosen apartments.
Perfect. So Jada is asking, what is included at Lake Claire and Neptune's dorm room? So in the room, do one of you want to give a quick overview of what's included?
Yeah. I can touch base at Lake Claire. So Lake Claire, you're going to have 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. You're going to have bathrooms. You're going to have a full kitchen. You're going to have a living room. And in the living room, you're going to have 2 couches. You're going to have a little dining area that has normally a table and 4 chairs. And then in your bedroom, you're going to have your desk, your chair, your bed, and also your closet.
Thanks, Anthony. And what about for Neptune? You want to address about Neptune, what's included?
So I had a wonderful year at Neptune, and I can tell you that it's also 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but the difference is there's no living room inside the unit. Instead, the living room is on the floor. And inside, you've got the same thing that we have in all of our bedrooms, which would be a bed, a desk and chair, a dresser, and a closet. And the beds in both Lake Claire and Neptune will be twin extra long, and they're the high ones that you can raise and lower.
Thank you very much. So a question here about lights from Jonna. So we said no halogen lights, but are freestanding all-enclosed LED lamps allowed? Brianna, are those allowed?
So yes, it just depends on what type of LED lamp that you're using. So if it's the octopus, the torchier, or the torchier style lamp where the bulb is facing up, then those are not allowed. But freestanding all-enclosed LED lamps are allowed.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. Oh, Anthony has one to show us. Perfect.
Excellent. Great job.
Thanks, Anthony. So Ariana is asking, do the common kitchens for academic housing already have pots, pans, cutlery, etc., or should they bring their own?
You will need to bring your own pots, pans, all of that. Yeah, you'll have to bring your own, clean your own. My recommendation for that is you can get these little collapsible wheelie carts, and that could be really handy to put all of your kitchen utensils in that little cart, and then when you're going to the community kitchen, you can just wheel it along. So that's handy for storage and transport, because you will need to have your own pots and pans.
Perfect. Thank you, Isabel. So we were asked when the contests for the fall room design contest will begin. So that will begin once move-in starts, and once you get all settled, get your room decorated, you can share pictures with us. We're going to be sharing more information next week on our social media channels. I'll share a slide at the end of this for where you can follow us. I know you guys are already here on our Facebook page, so you've got that. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and we're on Pinterest. If you want some ideas, we create some Pinterest boards for you. But the room design contest it's just a really fun way to share your ways, how you got creative, how you made your space your own, and you can win some prizes and you can be featured on our social channels. So it's just a lot of fun. So more information again to come on that next week. So stay tuned on our social channels for that. We had Beth ask us, will we receive directions for the best place to park for move-in? So yes, that info will be emailed out to you. We will be sending lots of information on move-in, more to come on that. And Christine asked, I see in some pictures a wall unit with shelves surrounding several beds. Is that something we should bring, or is it part of a particular housing location? So do any of you want to touch on that? I hope that question was clear.
So there are some places that have shelving around the beds. That is actually in Northview. So Northview beds have the shelving built in to their beds. And so that might be a picture of what you saw. Most other places do not have the shelving that is built in there.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
So Stacy asked, does the tower's freezer have an ice maker or a water dispenser? So good question.
No.
Nope.
No, so you'll need to bring your own ice tray. And like Kate and I said, the Brita water jug is really helpful. You can keep it in the fridge or you could keep it in your room. But as far as ice goes, you'd want to bring an ice tray.
Perfect. Thank you, Isabel. It's another one of those things where you might not have thought about that beforehand. So it's a good little thing to remember. So let's see. So Elsie is asking, does Lake Claire have a dresser? It does have a dresser in there, so you'll have some drawers. Sorry, I don't know if anyone was unmuting themselves. All right, so Vicky is asking for towers. Do you need the shower curtain or should you also bring a shower rod? Great question, Vicky.
So yes, you will need to bring your own shower curtain and shower rod to towers.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the same question from Catherine for Northview. Is the curtain rod included? So Anthony, do you know if the curtain rod is included? I'm sorry, the shower rod is, I think, probably what Catherine meant.
It's also encouraged that they bring their own rod.
Rod, okay, perfect. All right. So it looks like going through the comments, it looks like that is pretty much what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and share just a little bit more information about the room design contest. Someone beat me to it, so I was going to share it at the end. Oops, sorry, let me get this comment down really fast. So, all right. So just to share the room design contest, I hope you all can see this okay. So again, you'll just share pictures of your room with us. You'll share it on our social media page. More info to come on this, but some of the exciting prizes you could win, Bluetooth speakers, a Fitbit, an iPad mini. So just follow us on social media for more information on that. And as promised, here is our how to find us on social. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We also have a Pinterest page I did mention. So if you want to get some ideas from us on what to bring, how to decorate, so we're definitely excited to see how you all decorate your spaces and how you kind of make it your own and get creative. So thank you all so much for joining us. So we really appreciate spending another Thursday afternoon with you all. If you have any questions, feel free to call us or email us. You can also direct message us on our Instagram or on our social media channels. So hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.